Next up, as the U.S. prepares to pass tens of thousands of Central American children through the immigration legal system, the White House says the number of unaccompanied minors crossing the border is dropping significantly. The White House press secretary says that a daily average of about 150 children were apprehended right along the Rio Grande border in the first 2 weeks of July, and that's down from an average of 355 per day back in June. And Customs and Border Protection tells us there are about 23 minors in the Nogales detention facility. But the N4 Tucson investigators took a deeper look at how this entire fiasco began. Here's Lupita Murillo with this special investigators report.
Blanca Celada fled the violence and poverty of El Salvador in 2009. She wanted to reach the U.S. for a more peaceful life. Instead, she found the same corruption and ugly violence she was running from right here on the U.S.-Mexico border. Celada and her husband run a shelter in Nogales, Sonora, for migrants intending to cross the border illegally. Earlier this month, 20 Mexican police officers raided her shelter. They stole the personal belongings of 20 people, mostly Central Americans, heading for the U.S. They even disabled a security camera. It's not right that they come in here and do things like this. They're here supposedly to watch out for one, to protect one, and to help one. Mexican police officials have said they're not aware of the incident until a complaint surfaced. But Celada lives in fear. She didn't want to complain. If I go complain, what I'm doing is throwing more wood on the fire. She says she fled Central America, hoping to get away from situations like the one she's going through now. Celada's complaint is nothing new. Since 2011, the number of children from Central America captured at the U.S.-Mexico border has skyrocketed. Consider these figures just for Honduras alone. In 2009, 968 Honduran children were captured at the U.S. border. By 2012, the number grew to just under 3,000. 2013, 6,700. Now, 2014, 16,546.
But it's been a combination of events.
Lynn Marcus is co-director of the U of A's Immigration Law Clinic. She says some of those Central American countries have destabilized, and that's led to people fleeing here.
It's been the weakened institutions of the government, weakened by civil war and by coup. It's been the rising power of the cartels.
But Honduras went through a coup 5 years ago. So why wasn't the U.S. prepared for the rush of immigrants from Central America? We put that question to the Homeland Security Department and Customs and Border Protection late last week. This was the only response. We are unable to accommodate your request at this time.
Well, DHS and CBP were not prepared for this influx at all, even though there was ample warning to them about problems with children and the influx of children that were going to come in.
As far back as 2011, Tony Colson, who once headed the Drug Enforcement Administration's Tucson office, had asked Homeland Security to meet with him and nonprofit groups to talk about the growing problem.
They weren't prepared because from that time on, it was all about border security and a message, and no one wanted to talk about immigration at all from the administration.
Here's Janet Napolitano when she was Homeland Security Secretary in 2013, speaking in Tucson.
Drug seizures are up substantially. Currency seizures are up 71%. And weapons seizures, including weapons seizures going south, are up almost 190%.
So did the U.S. ignore the warnings about the migrant crisis now hitting Tucson and the rest of the border communities for the past 3 years? The Obama administration isn't saying, but last week it put the responsibility for how this all started on the news media. This report was leaked from the El Paso Intelligence Center, and it said news organizations in Central America spread wrong information that Central Americans could come up to the U.S. and stay. We'll continue pressing Homeland Security Department for answers into why it ignored a crisis right at our front door. News 4 investigators, Lupita Murillo, News 4 Tucson.